to take you through what we've actually been doing in Southwell as part of our frame pilot. So just giving you an overview of the project, the frames itself, and a little bit about the interventions that we've actually installed. So as a project outline, the frame project aims to improve flood resilience in the town of Southwell using a multi-layered approach. So it's a mixture of different interventions. Trent Trust are installing natural flood management with the Leaky Catchment. We've got the National Flood Forum, Southern Flood Forum, working on community resilience. And then we've got Nottinghamshire County Council, who are working on SUDS measures as well as property level resilience. So the project is joint funded by Interreg Frames, as well as the Trent RFCC. And the pilot is part of a bigger project to adopt this approach. So it's actually part of a European project working across the North Sea region. So in total we have 15 pilots. They're all supposed to be quite close to the North Sea, so I'm not quite sure why Southwell's in there, but we've known too much.
Get closer.
We're getting closer, yeah. But there's but there's a lot of different kind of interventions. So some of the pilots are actually working on community resilience. There's waterproofing electricity grids, and then within the Netherlands as well, they're looking at resilient recovery and what to do in emergencies, so emergency mitigation. So the multi-layered safety approach has 4 different layers. First of all, we've got layer 1. I keep saying it's not flood prevention in the UK. We call it flood risk management, but they won't listen. So this is in terms of our engineered structures. We've got spatial adaptation, where we're building houses, where we can put natural flood management. Layer 3, emergency response, and then finally, resilient recovery. So each layer follows on from itself, and it's thinking about what's next after each one is overwhelmed. So to move on to the study side. In Southwell there's a significant flood risk, so they've had multiple flood events over the past 100 years. The most recent ones, we've got the 2007 winter floods and the 2013 summer flood. And this 2013 event is kind of the catalyst for this project, and it's the one that we're focused on the most. So during this event, we had 107.6 millimetres of rain within 75 minutes, which is a phenomenal amount of rain falling within that time period. As a result, we had around 250 properties flooded. We've got a few members of the Southwell Flood Forum in today, and they were flooded as well, so if you want to talk to them about what this event was like, they were on the ground and actually witnessed it. One of the other problems is that the main road out of Southwell into Nottingham collapsed, meaning that in terms of resilient mitigation and actually having people on the ground for emergency services, that's a big problem as well. So there's a lot of different issues within Southwell. It's a mixture of flooding, depending on which side of the town you're in. So we have fluvial flooding in one side, as can be seen by the muddy floods, and then we've got pluvial flooding in the other side of the town as well. So we actually need to be thinking about surface water management and drainage systems. So we needed to take an approach to install natural flood management into the catchment itself. So first of all, we undertake a desk study. As someone was pointing out earlier, you do really want to be on the ground to see where these flow paths are, but there are certain methods that we can use to try and map these and then identify where we want to go and have a look when it's actually raining. So the first one is SciMap, which is shown here. SciMap gives us a general overview of the catchment, shows us where the erosion risks are and the flow risks are. But we can also use flow accumulation mapping as well. So this gives us a little bit more detail so that we can actually be on the ground and be at a specific point, try and ground truth these as well. We also talk to the local community quite a lot because they have witnessed all of these. They can tell us where they've seen water flowing across land, and then therefore we can start to build a bigger picture from that. From the Environment Agency LiDAR, we can also start to approximate storage volumes and start to calculate rainfall runoff, so that we can actually say how much water could we store, how much water would we expect at this point, and then when we're approaching a landowner, we have all of this evidence. If we have photos showing this flow path as well, even better. So we can approach them with quite a lot of evidence and then try and persuade them to take this a little bit further. So to talk about some of the interventions installed as well. So we've got a number of bunds within the catchment. Under this project we've installed 6 of them. Each one retains overland flow for a period of around 12 hours and then drains down. Really important within the design that they're going to drain down. One, because we need that storage available if we've got 2 events. but also really important because the landowner doesn't want any negative impact on their land. So for their land holding, they need this to drain down so that they can be on the land as quickly as possible. If the crops are inundated for too long, they're also going to lose them. So we do need to design each bund in a specific way so that we can actually minimise any disruption to the landowners themselves. We've also installed a number of leaky barriers, and we keep seeing a lot of leaky barriers used in other projects. We've managed to get 28 within the upper catchment, and the design of each is very much based on the watercourse and the landowner consent as well. So in more natural watercourses, we've got leaky barriers made of natural wood, where we've left a gap underneath so that we can let low flows pass. Therefore, we're not impacting on field drainage, and we're not impacting negatively on any ecology in the streams as well. But for field ditches, we can use much more man-made, almost gully block structures. These are preferred by the landowners within the ditches because they are a lot easier to maintain, and we can get them in a lot quicker as well. And we're finding that the leaky barriers are actually having quite a significant impact on sediment storage. So we are noticing that we're getting sediment accumulation within them. We are trying to monitor this as part of another project at Trent, which Trust in the Loudon pilot, just to try and see, actually, are we removing sediment from the streams and try and quantify these multiple benefits that people keep talking about, but sometimes we're not measuring in enough detail. As I mentioned as well, within the Halem Hill catchment, so the second part of the town, there's a big issue with pluvial runoff. So we wanted to pilot, actually, could we put urban measures in place within this as well? So we've been using rain garden planters, and these have been installed within a university, so I'm hoping the students know what they are by now. What we've got is the rain garden is connected to the downpipe. It then filters through a layer of topsoil, a layer of gravel, a layer of sand, and then comes out the bottom back into the drainage system. This allows us to temporarily retain a little bit of water, but it also adds quite a visual to the university as well, so they're very happy that we put something in place that looks quite interesting to them. I was really keen to try and make them edible, but apparently we weren't allowed to do that because the students didn't quite know what they could do with the herbs. I thought they would be a lot better at cooking than that, but we had to move away from that. But again, we've had to modify these to each site, so it's a very site-specific process. We've had to make these from raised beds, we've then had to put a pond liner within them, and we've had to make sure that they fit underneath the windows so that we're not blocking any light as well. So again, there's a lot of landowner engagement, there's a lot of different people to talk to, and there's a lot of red tape before we get to put things like these in place. We've also put a number of storage ponds within the catchment as well, and I quite like storage ponds because we can actually create a lot more multiple benefits than, say, the bunds. So with the bunds, in terms of multiple benefits, maybe we're retaining some sediment. We're not seeing that so much in Southwell. But with the ponds, we can actually create habitat. So by digging a little bit lower, we create somewhere where amphibians can go, for example, and we're diverting water straight out of the stream. It can then fill up and then drain straight back into the stream. We can connect some to the watercourse, as mentioned, or we can just dig them in wet areas of land. The landowners really like ponds as well, so one thing I really like to do is to have a look at historic mapping and see where they've lost these ponds. Normally, their ancestors knew where the ponds needed to be, and over time they've either filled up or been filled in for agricultural production. So if we can say that this pond was there at one point in history, a lot of farmers were really keen for us to dig these out for them. But we've still got some more still to come as well. So we've also took some focus towards the Green, which is the main river running next to the Southwell. We're hoping to put 5 wetland scrapes in with an approximate storage of around 900 cubic metres. This area is underwater again, so we were meant to put these in November, but due to the rainfall we're struggling to get to land, so we're hoping in the next few months that we'll get something a bit drier to get on. Again, these are going to create a lot more habitat along this river. This river has been quite neglected over time. It's really silted up. We want to try and remove some of that sediment, filter that water and clean it up a little bit. We're also going to install brushwood mattresses on 4 reaches of the river Green. So this is an attempt to try and remove some of the sediment from the gravels that should be present, but it also adds roughness to the stream, and it will allow us to connect to the floodplain more regularly. So we've actually had this model to have a look at the outputs to try and see where we will flood onto the land. We've also been monitoring under frame, so we had a smaller budget for the monitoring, therefore we had to move towards time-lapse cameras. Time-lapse cameras have been really good for us. One kind of piece of information is by the infrared ones because they do work at night, therefore we can monitor at night. I hear a lot that people say, well, we're just getting dark photos. If you've got the infrared ones, they work really well. And what they allow us to do is just to check that the interventions are becoming active and if they're functioning as they're designed. So are they filling properly, are they draining properly, and when a threshold's reached, that actually water goes into the pond. So I don't know if that's below the table, but for this storage pond here, we wanted to know when this stream actually became connected to the pond. Therefore, the time-lapse cameras allow us to do that. There's rainfall monitoring up the road at the university, and therefore we can try and piece together a bigger picture of how our interventions are functioning and are we happy with them. It's really important that we think about tweaking these as well, so don't see that as a failure. If you need to go back and redesign, we're all still learning with this process. So if there is a mistake, don't be ashamed of it, share it, go back and tweak. So in terms of lessons learned as well, so I wanted to just run through a few of them, what I think were the biggest ones for us. One thing we have put in place for the Frames project is a works grant agreement, and this pays landowners for maintenance of the interventions. So future maintenance is still a big issue for landowners, and I'm hearing that mentioned as well. There's still no policy or governance structure in place, therefore we can't say who will maintain these in the future. The works grant agreements guarantee this for 5 years, and it means that the farmers get an economic resource for providing a public good, but it's only a short-term plug, so we do need to think about this in the long term as well. I would recommend starting the landowner engagement really early. It takes a long time to finalise designs. We were forever tweaking designs within this project, but often if you start early enough as well, the landowners have a few ideas that you didn't think of, or your flow accumulation or SIMAP didn't pick up, and therefore you can then build upon what you know. Local knowledge is really useful, so working with the Southwell Flood Forum, we can pick up flow paths. Bunds have been built in places where they've recommended. The intervention design is really key for long-term success as well, so really do tweak it if you need to, and it's really site-specific for us as well. Finally, partnership working has been real key to this project. So there's a lot of different organisations involved, so just to name a few. Working with different partners has increased the efficiency for us. It's meant that the consenting processes have been a lot easier. For Bunds, we didn't know if we needed planning permission at the start of the project, and just getting the planning authority onto site to see what a Bund was meant that we didn't need this because it wasn't really necessary. And it's the same with leaky barriers. If you're saying that we're going to put a barrier in the stream, the consenting authority starts to panic a little bit. So just seeing that actually it's a natural thing, but we're putting a wood in the stream can really be a benefit. So thank you for listening to me. Are there any questions?